Hey everybody, what's going on? My name is Matt and welcome back to Crypto Kings, and in today's video we're going to be talking about exactly what is going on with SHIB. I know so many people have been asking and it's about time we get into it. So if you guys are new, make sure to drop a like and subscribe for more daily Shiba Inu videos, and let's get right into it. So if you guys haven't seen exactly what we are working with here on the day, of course, we've been talking a lot about this recently, but I do think it is definitely worth mentioning again the fact that right now, we're sitting here really around the bottom of what we have predicted to be a line of support, because again, when we check the rest of coin market cap here, you guys can see there's nothing really amazing going on here except for AVAX. Hey, congratulations to AVAX holders out there. But except for AVAX, maybe a couple others, there's nothing really amazing going on here. So what we're left with is a coin that is a lot more reliant, in my opinion, on Ethereum and Bitcoin. And I've been mentioning this recently, but I've noticed that when Ethereum and Bitcoin don't move a lot, whether that be, a small increase or small decrease or whatnot, and SHIB is low in volume, I find SHIB to be a little bit more dependent on what Ethereum and Bitcoin are doing, as opposed to when the volume is sky high for SHIB, it's being driven by social media or outside factors. Whenever that happens, I don't think it has nearly as big of an impact on SHIB's price. So again, when this volume is above 5 billion, I don't think Ethereum and Bitcoin have much to do with it. But right now, having a much lower volume day, I think this is worth noting. But you know what else is worth noting? Webull, guys. Top of the link down below in the description. It is so easy to do if you guys want to start trading stocks, crypto, all that good stuff. If you guys use my link at the top of the description, you guys can get 2 free stocks valued up to $2,300. So all you guys have to do, use my link there at the top of the description to get started. I always do appreciate it, guys. But when it comes down to it, again, what I'm seeing here is low volume, extremely low volume comparatively. And again, that is causing, I think, this to act adversely with the rest of the market. So market cap here, again, down to $25 billion or so, which is still extremely good, but definitely not quite where we want to be with, of course, like I said, a lower volume. So when we look at our patterns here, guys, this is becoming a little difficult because I had a couple of people in my comments say they agreed with me on my assessment that this generally, I mean, from top to bottom, really does just look like a falling wedge. I mean, this is really what this entire movement from late October really looks like. But how does that help us now in the short term? Well, it's not quite as helpful in the short term, but I still think, again, this gives us the sort of angle that we would need for another potential breakout one day. And again, it's hard to say when that may happen. It may even sink lower before that happens, but I think that the general idea that this has created a falling wedge is important to note. But in terms of the short term, in terms of what we have to work with right now, what I'm really seeing here is what it comes down to is an inverse head and shoulders pattern. Because if you guys remember, again, a normal head and shoulders pattern has, the head here, it's a certain point, it has the two shoulders, and of course, that is typically something that we would see with a lot of different cryptos out there. But the inverse head and shoulders pattern is also very common, and you guys can see it kind of reverses it. So we have the head here, kind of a rounding here of the bottom with two shoulders and leading to a breakout. So this is inherently a bullish sign, and you guys can see here is another example of this. We have the head on the bottom, the two shoulders, and the breakout, and essentially this neckline is what has to be passed. So when we look at this, I think it's pretty close, because again, we have our head here. Here's our head. Then, of course, we have our first right shoulder there, our left shoulder here. It's not quite as neat and pretty as, again, this some of these graphs are here. It's definitely not quite as beautiful as some of these are. But regardless, again, the head, shoulders, and the breakout. So that is what we are waiting for here. So when it comes to the neckline, well, hey, it looks like the neckline is something like this, somewhere around here. Again, it's not quite as exact as I wish it was, but, I think the closest estimation is something like this. And of course, if this new movement is able to keep going and break past that neckline, we could see a breakout. I think that is a pretty reasonable guess. Again, when we look at things like this, guys, the difficulty is that we are limited in a sense to going with a estimation. We are limited to what we can round with, because as much as I wish that I could look at this and say, oh my God, SHIB is doing the exact same thing as this. SHIB is doing the exact same thing. As much as I wish I could do that, I really can't, because that never happens for the most part. For the most part, we have to look at this and make the best assumption that we can. What does this resemble most? What is this closest to? And again, from what I'm seeing here, this really does, look like it has that head there. It has a couple of these, shoulders, which are, working their way up. And of course, you guys can see if we really set the neckline here, it looks as if the neckline was falling through, which definitely you guys can see the neckline here, of course, falls down. It falls through. We fall through this neckline here. We create the left shoulder here, of course, falling through that neckline. Same thing here. Again, we are not passing this neckline. So the right shoulder here, it's where we need to, work to move up. And then the head at the bottom. So again, this is what I'm seeing here, and I definitely think that this is a fair estimation to make. Now, when we check, of course, some of our indicators, which I always love to do, the relative strength index, you guys can see is a little bit below 50, right around 43. So definitely not anything major going on, largely because of this volume. This volume here is, again, much lower than it normally is, which makes it a much quieter day for SHIB in general. So when we look at something like this, what this is showing us is that, yes, we could move up all the way to around 70 here. We do have a lot of headroom here to work our way up. So, we are not trapped here at 46. We could go to 47 or 48, without experiencing a lot of issues, without experiencing major sell-offs, without experiencing any pullback. But if we do get above maybe, say, 47, 48, that could exceed the relative strength index, and then we could get some pullback. And then the same goes for the reverse. We could maybe head a tiny bit lower. We could maybe head down to like 45-ish. And again, that's kind of near the bottom of that line of support that we were hoping to hold on to. If that happens, if we fall through the line of support, again, things could get pretty bad, because then we would be very, very volatile in terms of sell volume and yada, yada. But this would also have kind of a flip side in the fact that we could maybe have a rebound if we went below the 30 line. So that is definitely something worth considering. When we check the Fibonacci retracement, of course, you guys can see it is going to outline the most recent runs. So we have the very top here at around 52 and the very bottom here at around 45. So again, it looks like we have managed to stay above the bottom here, the 45-ish line here, which is excellent, because once we went back down, we hit the 0% line here, the very, very bottom. Once we hit the 0 line here, we bounce back. And again, you guys can see right around 45, it showed that we were able to bounce back. Now, the goal is to see if we get above the 23.6% line and maybe use that as a line of support to, hopefully gain some traction. But, if the 23.6% line fails on us, we would still have, the remainder of the very bottom here, this line of support here between 45.5 and 47 or so. We would still have this line here to hopefully rely on, because we would, have the precedent that it wants to bounce off of it. Because again, you guys can see it bounces off of it once and then it bounces off of it again. So we do have the precedent that if it happened a third time, if we went back down, we could very well bounce off of it. So with that being said, guys, thank you all so much for watching. Hope you guys have enjoyed. If you guys did, make sure to drop a like and subscribe, folks, for more daily SHIB vids. That being said, everybody, my name is Matt. See you guys on the next one. Peace.